Today's Easy Honor is going to be conquering the Arcane Tower. Now we have Sovereign Glut, who has resurrected the Bulette using his spores. Now, if the Bulette is proving too difficult, you can just use the Minotaur or a Hook Horror for this. You just need something that can soak up a lot of damage. The Bulette is most easily defeated by splashing water on them with a bottle of water and then using Glyph of Warding Lightning. This will deal double the damage, so you can potentially do 80 points of damage off of those 100 temporary hit points, and you can cast this from range so nobody has to get hurt by the shattering scales. In order to knock out those other 20 hit points or so of damage on the temporary hit points, I usually like to have Great Weapons Master and Sharpshooter active on several of my enemies. This basically adds 10 to their damage rolls, so they're pretty much guaranteed to do 15 points of damage. But it subtracts 5 from their 2 hit, and the Bulette has a really high AC. So you want to make sure it hits. So usually I have Falar Aluv, and I activate that with Sing. That gives a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls, and then I usually bless on top of that with a Paladin to make sure that we're hitting. And then once you've knocked off those 100 hit points, it's pretty easy to defeat the Bulette. He might actually burrow and run away, but those temporary hit points are not coming back. They don't restore. So even though the Bulette can heal himself, the scales are not going to heal, in a sense. Once we've used the Bulette to defeat these first 2 turrets, we no longer have to worry about the turrets, because we're going to jump down these mushrooms and go through the back door.
With pleasure.
We're just taking a quick moment to highlight a special weapon here called Skybreaker. Not the best Warhammer by any means, in my opinion, but it allows you to do some extra fire damage for 10 rounds as long as you don't lose concentration. It's always nice to stack on some extra damage types when you're fighting. Take note that when you swing and hit them for that extra 1d6 fire damage, they might be set on fire, which will cause them to take 1d6 fire damage every single round, on top of any attacks you might make with the sword. We're quickly just trading out Karlach in exchange for Lae'zel. Lae'zel has high strength, dexterity, and wisdom. Wisdom is important for identifying hidden items with perception and survival checks. We have the strength for the jumping and the dexterity for lockpicking the back door. So we've discovered a small hole, so if you don't feel like breaking down the door or lockpicking it, you can shrink down in size or shapeshift into a cat and go through the hole to bypass the door. We're first going to head over to the Susser tree to get some Susser blooms, which we'll need in just a second to bypass the
These
turrets.
flowers, they make my blood run as cold as ice. It will happen.
Once we get through the door, we'll see the hole we would have come through if we had shrunk down in size. We'll also get several hints of what to do with this power generator. We first see spent Susser blooms on the floor, and we also have a book, which if we read near the end says they suspect they can use the Susser bloom as a power source. So if we go up the stairs around the power generator, we'll discover our second magic item in this chest called Uncovered Mysteries, which allows us to cast the spell Detect Thoughts. And before we activate the generator, I just want to show you that there are turrets inside up on the main floor behind the front door waiting to greet us. But once we throw the Susser Bloom in the power generator, they're all going to shut down for us. Going up to the second floor, we're going to discover the most important book, the Threadbare book, which has the phrase that will allow us to get the guiding light ring from Bernard, which is necessary to get to the basement, and you'll see why that's so valuable in a minute.
Such tedium. No blades, no battle cries.
You'll find a bunch of machine parts, which can be used to create lightning resistance potions, which could be beneficial if you intend to fight Bernard. Otherwise, you can save him up for the fight against Answer the Dragon. After we get back up to the third floor and open the front door to reunite with our companions, we have one of the final defenses of the tower, which is the red herring. It's in this dusty book, and it's the one phrase we do not want to say to Bernard, because it'll cause him and his companions to attack us. And you know it's the wrong phrase because it ends with, "We'll kill the rest so the one can thrive." Kind of ominous. Just behind the dusty old book, out on the balcony, you'll see one of the most curious items in the entire game, called Chest of the Mundane. And if you open it up, you'll just see spoons and plates. You might just be tempted to close it and move on. But if you pull these items out, you'll actually see they are not mundane. They've been converted into mundane items. And there's a Major Armor Scroll and Mistra's Grace, which gives you the option to Featherfall at will. Fairly handy. Not great, but okay. And it's a lot of fun to just throw things in there and see what they change into. You can even throw other mundane items in there. They'll change into mundane items. It'd be really cool if you could pick this up and carry it around with you, because you could throw a bunch of heavy armor and weapons in there, turn them into really lightweight items, and then pull them back out when you need them, but it's not liftable. If you have someone with the Guild Artisan background, you can put an item into the chest and receive an inspiration point, as well as a little bit of extra experience for trash and treasure. The fourth floor has a set of really rare books and some decent poetry. It also contains two of the key phrases we'll want to use with Bernard, and it has a Githyanki book about their civil war, and we'll actually want to give this book to a youth in the Githyanki creche, so we want to make sure to pick it up and take it with us. The torn page speaks to Lenore's loneliness in the tower, and if we use it on Bernard, we'll cause him to offer us a hug, which will lead to an indication that Lenore was of a shorter species or race.
Shouldn't have wished to live in more interesting times.
Disc appears in your mind's eye. Lae'zel sees it too, and considers the vision.
Tir'su markings. Ancient. I recognize them, but I can't make sense. No. Wait. The texts are enciphered, but I've solved the pattern. It's a story. About Orpheus.
Your head buzzes in concert with Lae'zel's, but it hardly matters. Even without the connection, you'd recognize her discomfort.
A traitor. A dead one. This text is heresy. I can hardly bear to read it, let alone speak it. Very well. I will read it to you. The Prince of the Comet, Part 1. So it was that we were free from Geich shackles and turned our blades on each other. The heavens were shattered, and one great empire was divided in two. Gith traveled to the Hells to broker help for her people, her cause. Vlaakith would have you believe Mother Gith proclaimed her our queen. Lies. Gith made no such proclamation. Vlaakith seized the Empire against the Mother's wishes. But Gith had nurtured a son, Orpheus, Prince of the Comet, the true heir. He knew Vlaakith's treachery. Orpheus rallied Gith's honor guard and declared the throne for himself. The War of the Comet had begun. Disregard this drivel. Gith declared Vlaakith Queen of the Empire, and her own son defied her. Orpheus would have ceded control to the Geich. She did nothing of the sort. Thank your good fortunes I'm a tolerant woman, or I'd have sliced off a few toes for suggesting it.
Such a strange disc. Are these Githyanki markings? Lae'zel might know.
The Road to Darkness is a critical read if we want to pacify Bernard and have him stand down. It's basically the code to his programming that says we are his master. The handwritten letter is curious because it tells us not only is Lenore quirky, trying to tame a Bulette after losing her beloved dog, the same Bulette we have roaming through her house right now, I believe, but it also gives us hints as to where to find the gravesite of her beloved dog, because it's surrounded by autumn crocus flowers. And if we dig up this grave over by the Hook Horrors, then we can get the dog's collar, which will help us receive some extra rations when we push this button that we use to dispense food for the dog.
Here goes nothing. I spy with my little eye.
This special view with the telescope not only shows the original sussur tree, but it also shows the gravesite where her dear pet is buried.
New sounds so damping like a pressure break. Is it the foam? That foul, contemptuous heel? Too much of love for me, not love for blood and steel. Come on, as if you feel.
So just a quick reminder in case you've been skipping around that How Can I Trust will give us Guiding Light, which is the ring that's critical to reach the basement.
You do not believe the secret show. Reveal the truth. Do what you wish to see.
I should speak up.
Come on, as if you feel. My lord, my liege. Of course, my love. Don't be afraid, sweet girl. What can I do? Sorry, would you like a hug? Come here, for just a moment.
His arms are too tight and too low for a comfortable hug, as if he's meant to be embracing someone slightly shorter.
Remember, you are loved, Lenore, so much. You're doing great. And everyone will be so proud of you. As I already am.
The patched parchment on the top floor here that talks about the thoughtless gifts will allow Bernard to give us a potion of greater healing.
Come on, as if you feel. My lord,
Now, if you decide to attack and you manage to defeat Bernard, you can get Light of Creation, which is his weapon. It's an halberd that appears as a glaive, but it does extra lightning damage on every successful hit. The problem is it has a chance to stun its wielder
My ring
unless you
lit up.
have like the gloves
Must
of
have been linked to
automation
that
that
button.
make you appear as a construct, or you can get the Helm of Balduran that prevents you from getting stunned. Over here in the tool shed is a stool of hill giant strength. It's completely useless as it is. You can sit on it and be super strong, but as soon as you stand up, you're weak again. So the answer is to break the stool.
What is this? Power. The power's gone. A most vexing chair. This is no silver sword, but that chair leg may be a useful weapon.
So once we've equipped the Club of Hill Giant Strength, which is a light weapon, so we can put it in our offhand, it increases our chance to hit, as well as increasing the damage output of our main weapon, and greatly enhances our carrying capacity. With the Light of Creation now equipped, we can see the button for the basement, which will take us to one more important ring. Down in the basement, we find Lenore's ring that she's invented, the Sparkswall, which prevents you from being electrified and also grants you resistance to lightning damage. This is great not just if you're going to take on Bernard, but also great if you're going to wear the water sparker boots that electrify the water. You don't want to be stunned when you stand in the water. So, excellent ring to have. Also really handy when taking on Ansor the Dragon. The Dehurst diary gives us some interesting insights because not only do we learn Lenore's last name, we learn that she was a cleric and that she seems to have disappeared on a trip back to Baldur's Gate to meet with some fellow clerics about her research. The Staff of Arcane Blessing seems a bit overpowered, but it's actually not written correctly. Use just the regular bless for weapon attacks and save throws, and an extra 1d4 for spell attacks. If you found these honor mode tutorials and walkthroughs helpful, please feel free to give a like and share, add a comment, and subscribe for additional honor mode content. You should now be much better equipped to take on Bernard if you intend to do so. I would definitely recommend knocking him out the window, which would not only cause massive fall damage, but it'll separate him from the magic armor for several rounds, which will allow you to take them out, and then getting up and take out Bernard when he's isolated and alone.